Hello and welcome to Make Lunch at Upper Stratton, and this is our first online tutorial. My name is Linda and I'm going to be talking you through our first recipe, which this week is beef and bean bake. So before we get started, the first thing that we've all got to do, children included, is wash our hands. So I'm just going to have a quick wash of my hands in some hot soapy water and dry them off. And another good tip is to make sure that whoever is helping is at the right height. So if you've got little ones, go and find them a small step that they can stand on. Now the first thing we're going to do is to chop some onion, and I'm going to show you a really good method of onion chopping. Most of you will have a small knife like this, which is ideal. I'm going to use my professional kitchen knife so that I can demonstrate more easily. This is probably something, until everyone's used to it, that would be better if the grown-ups did. But later on in the series we're going to be doing lots of chopping that the children can get involved with. So here's our onion, and I'm going to take off one end and then the other, as close to the root as you can possibly get so we don't waste any. And then we're going to peel the skin off. This is quite a new onion, so it hasn't got much of a skin around it. I know many of you will worry about having runny eyes and crying while you're peeling onions, but there's really not much we can do about that, but it's worth it in the end because of the flavour that these give you. So we've peeled our onion, nearly, there it goes, and this is how we get really small dice and quite safely. So hopefully you've got a sharp knife. Always use the point of the knife down, because if the knife were to slip at any point it will go down and not across your hands. So we're going to use the bridge technique, which is to hold it like this, and we're going to cut not right down to the root but almost, and we're going to cut down in quite thin slices across the onion like this, and that makes lines through the onion. And then we're going to slice across the onion, again not all the way down through to the root but quite near. And this is where you need to be really careful of your fingers, especially if you've got a very sharp knife like mine is. And one more across the top, so we've got lines going this way, got lines going that way, and then keeping your fingers out of the way, we're just going to slice down through the onion, and that gives you very regular small dice. And then the very last bit, where your fingers might be in danger of getting chopped, you can just chop across those grains, and that gives you lots more small bits as well. So that's the first half, and the second half will go again. We just slice down again, not right to the end, through the onion, nice even slices. Now if you can't manage this, or if you've got one of those really swizzy chipper choppers that you just put it in and bash it, or you can put it into a food processor if you have one, but I find this is quicker than having to clean a processor at the end. So we'll go down through there, and as you can see it's creating lots of small dice, and then we just chop the last bits up. And over here I've got a casserole pot, and I'm just going to throw these uncooked into the casserole pot. There we go. The next thing I'm going to do is just to mix up some stock. Now I'm not sure in your pack whether you're going to have a foil one like this or a softer one, but a small tip. These were never designed to be peeled. I'm sure many of you have spent loads of time trying to peel off one of these. If you just open up the tabs and use your knife and give it a small press, you can see that there. We just press that and then inside here you've got crushed stock. We need about 200 mils, 250 mils of water, and then open up our bag, and there we have your finely crushed stock cube. I'm going to put that in there and give it a stir around so it's dissolving and cooling down whilst we're doing the rest of the dish. So the next thing that goes into our casserole pot is the minced beef, and we have to say a big shout out and thank you to Graham Burrows down there on Hobley Drive in Stratton for our mince. And we're just going to drop the whole bag, whatever you've got, into the pot. Again, no cooking, no nothing involved, it's just going to go straight in the pot. The next thing I'm going to do is open the tins, and this is where the children can obviously give you a help. So I've got a tin of chopped tomatoes, which you should have in your pack, and a tin of baked beans. Now the amount of mince that you've got will make a family meal, and you might think that there's not a lot of mince in that, but because we've put the baked beans in, they give additional protein, so you can make do with less meat, which is a good thing for cooking on a budget. And again, these chopped tomatoes are just going to go straight into the tin, into the casserole pot. Keep your tin to one side, same with the baked beans. And they're going to go in, juice and all, just straight in the casserole pot. Shake them out, don't leave any in there. Get a small child, get a spoon, scrape out the contents, don't leave any behind. So there's always a few beans just left in the bottom. So we've left the cans here because you might be able to see that both of them have still got juice in, and we're going to make sure that we don't put that to waste. So I'm going to use the stock that I've just made, and I'm going to put a bit in the bottom. Be really careful if this hasn't cooled down sufficiently, and just swill it around and put that in so you've got a nice clean tin. And the same with the baked beans. We're just going to put that in, swill it around and tip that into the casserole. Also in your bag you should have received a small portion of mixed herbs. I've got my big tub here, and we're just going to put a little handful to season your lovely dish. And you can, this is the point where you can add any flavours that you might have in your own store cupboard, so Worcestershire sauce or Tabasco or different herbs if you would like. I tend not to mix in any more seasoning at this point because we should limit obviously the amount of salt that we have, and you can always add a little more at the end. This is the fun bit. This doesn't look particularly pleasant at the moment. As you can see, it's just a slushy mess of mince and tomatoes and beans. So we've all got our hands washed, which is great, and this is the fun part. This is where your children can really help out, because the best way of mixing this is with our hands, and that's what we're going to do now. We're going to put our hands in and give it a good old squish around. Just squish the bits together, and it mixes the onions and the beans and the tomatoes, and that just goes together really, really well. And then make sure you scrape off any of the goodies that might be on your hands. Wash your hands again. And this is probably the only bit of cooking that you might need to think about. So we're going to put some pasta in this at the moment. You can see mine here is still quite, it's a bit sloppy, but it's not overly runny. And And we're going to put some pasta in this in a minute, and what will happen is when it's cooked, the juice in this dish will cook the pasta in the pot and thicken up the juices. So I'm just going to put a little more of my stock in here to make it a little bit thinner so that I can get the pasta in there. So because I've just washed my hands, I'm going to stir that with the wooden spoon. There we go. So I've got quite a sloppy mixture. It looks a little unappetizing, but trust me, that's going to taste absolutely delicious. Here's our bag of pasta. This is a new one. I'm going to fight to get in. And then what we're going to do with this is just for each person. So this is going to serve 4 or 5. I'm going to take a small handful of pasta. So everyone who's helping to make this dish can join in. They take a small handful for each person this is going to serve and sprinkle it in. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, we can put our hands back in this and give it another stir up. So here's all the pasta on the top, and we're just going to squidge that all together and mix it in to make sure all the pasta is in contact with some of the meat. There we go. We're going to wash our hands again. And that is our dish. As you can see, the pasta's mixed in. It's got the beans and the tomatoes, and then we put the lid on, and this needs to go into an oven at 190 or 170 if you've got a fan oven, or gas mark 5 for about 40 minutes. So I'm going to put this into my oven. There we go, and that will cook away really nicely to itself. It will take about 40 minutes, but just check and check to make sure that the pasta is cooked as much as you like it to be. Now this leaves you obviously with a big bag of pasta left, and the idea is when that's ready you would cook your pasta in the normal way just to make up the portion, and then I would serve that with a little maybe some chopped green salad on the side, or even some garlic bread to dunk into the sauce. Another great tip is that this is perfect for putting into a slow cooker. So you can do exactly the same things, and if you've got a slow cooker, put it on low for 4 or 5 hours. That's all it would need. And so if you go out for the day, if you go for a walk or out visiting, socially distanced of course, then this would be ready for you when you come home. So our casserole's had about 40 minutes. We're going to have a look now to see if it's ready. There we go. Smells delicious. Oh, look at that. Perfect casserole. The pasta's cooked and everything is smelling absolutely delicious. As you can see, it's taken on a totally different texture now. Just super to dish out on a plate with some pasta or some rice or some garlic bread. If you've got any left after you've enjoyed your beef and bean bake, chill it down as soon as possible. Put it covered into the refrigerator, and then that's really good either with some more pasta stirred into it or as a topping for perhaps a baked potato. So there you have our first week's recipe. I do hope that you've been able to follow the recipe that we've included this week, and that you'll tune in to our YouTube and our Make Lunch page to find out about our other recipes that you're going to get, one each week as we go along through the summer holiday. So I hope you have a really good week. Take care, stay well, God bless. Bye.